All of humanity's history can be defined by a simple, single principle. Fire. From even before they were human, they had fire. It was part of their very being. In the primordial ooze of their home planet, their oldest primogenitors took an endosymbiote within themselves that harnessed that terrible process of destruction and made it a fuel. They used the same process that could consume all life on the planet as fuel. They would oxidize, consume matter to provide fuel for their body. Then they discovered the ability to make flame outside their body. All that they feared in the world was put to the flame. The monsters that hid in the dark were burned out. The shadows were chased away, and so humanity grew, and they turned the flame into a tool. They used it to process food before consuming it to extract more fuel. They burnt their food twice, once outside their body, and once again inside. They used it to refine metals to make weapons and tools, but always flame was a weapon. Every primitive species uses sharp sticks as weapons. Humanity, they set their sticks on fire, but despite having it shackled within them as a fundamental part of their biochemistry, it can still harm them. Need to destroy something? Set it ablaze? Don't bother tearing it down, just burn it away. If a human was wounded, they would expose the wound to flame to seal it. And still they progressed, and the flame came with them. Weapons now propelled by the flame. They use lenses and mirrors to make the flame light entire swathes of the sea, or to send messages between cities. And they wove this flame into their stories and legends. A gift from the gods, a purifying light, a weapon of the darkest forces. For them, the flame was all things, the most beautiful and pure thing. A tool for utter annihilation and the representation of evil. They knew, even in legend, that the star above them, their sun, was flame. Stories such as Icarus, or legends of gods pulling the flaming disc above them. They waged wars for lots of reasons, but often those reasons came down to who would burn, who had more to set on fire, or who had more things processed by fire. They grew more, became capable of making mighty machines. And how did they power these machines? Did they use light or water power, which they had been using for a long while, or even harness the wind? No, they chose to use fire again. They harnessed the ultimate force of destruction and confined it, directed it and fettered it to work for them more. For them, the answer to all things was simply, can we do it with fire? And it was only when that failed did they move on to other things. Often did we use too much or too little fire. They stripped resources from their home planet, fuels created by millennia of geological process, and what did they do with it? They used fire to purify it, so they could burn the fuels to make more fire for the machines that they built. They had discovered that there was power in the light, in the wind and the water, but still they used fire. When it came time to leave their planet and reach for the stars, what did they do? Did they build a sleek gravitic drive or the graceful solar sails? They didn't even build the most basic of magnetar engines. No, they used fire. They built mighty cylinders of flame, refined metals, and filled them full of the explosive fuels they so loved, and set them alight while sitting atop them. They chose to use fire and flame to hurl themselves into space. This was far earlier than any other species had achieved spaceflight, as ungraceful as it was. Less than a decade later, they carried their flame to the satellites about their planet. Their moon, as they call it. Yet humanity has been reminded again and again that this is not a toy, but a force of nature. The raw manifestation of destruction. And what do they choose to do? Simply make better chains for the flames they so love. Humanity discovered that all these flames had polluted their planet and were slowly choking it. So did they choose to use wind or light to power their planet? No. They looked up to the sky and saw the sun. They used to call it a big ball of fire. Well, not correct, they decided it was close enough. So they harnessed that. They made small suns, small balls of fire that they could draw energy from. They chose to harness another of the primordial forces, one that was as close to fire as they could get away with. And so they come now, across the void to us. They come upon vessels powered by the flames of stars. Fire that they caught at the dawn of their existence and tamed and trained throughout all of their history. So if it is one thing that humans bring with them, it is the flame. Tied to them from the earliest of their ancestors, and now used to drive them across the void of space.